Hey, welcome folks, it's Mark Rolton. I trust that you're well, coming to you from the engine room of Massland's headquarters. I want to cover off a fascinating topic with you in this next coming three-part series. I'm going to delve deep into the subject of sustainability. How do you and I sustain ourselves through our latter years? Yes, we're discussing retirement. I know many of us have been told we should invest, we should put money away, we should think about the future, we should dedicate more contributions to our super fund. And I don't know about you folks, I'm sick of hearing the should story. Today, and this next couple of days over this series, is going to be about you asking the questions. Do you want to sustain your lifestyle, or do you want to ask the government for a pension? That's really where it's at. The decisions we're making today is going to really reflect exactly where we end up 2, 5, 15, 25 years from now. But I want to go through a 7-part series, like a 7-part analysis of this. And it's called The 7 Dangers of Why You Will Not Live Comfortably in Your Older Years. This is part of some research that I've downloaded from an information house called Reuters, R-E-U-T-E-R-S, one of the most respected information houses across the globe. They've now divested an enormous amount of data into the current status of you and I moving into our retirement years. I remember, as you do, our first day at work or our first move into a career path and thinking how much money that we had. And already that monologue had begun. You should be doing this, you should be putting money away, they're taking money off you every week for super and what have you. And we didn't really think too seriously about it. I know now, moving into our older phases of our career, we've now got to start to put some real action behind these thoughts. It's not enough to go, yeah, I know. If you're not doing something that you know, it's just pure ignorance, it's stupidity. So it's now taking action upon this knowledge, and I want to further cement the reality by backing this up with some evidential facts. Have a listen to this, folks. If we now live in Australia, our current pension is $344.55 per week. Now, I don't know about you, where you live right now, but that wouldn't rent you too much in terms of living accommodation. If you are part of a relationship / couple, a married couple, your current pension in today's market will be $209.20 per week as an individual. Now folks, I don't know about you, it seems to me that the cost of living is not just growing with inflation, it seems to be radically increasing. Let's do the maths. I mean, fuel is tipped to move at 4.9% in terms of cost this year alone. 4.9%. The cost of food, the cost of a mortgage, the cost of running things today, the cost of our household, school fees, energetics or gas companies, whatever it might be, are creating a real problem for most households. Look at this. Here's a classic for you. People think that superannuation, as in a managed fund or a superannuation fund, is the answer. And I really want to debunk this. I want to get to the facts, folks. You're going to make a choice. Either you're going to be freaking rich or you're going to be incredibly poor. And if you fit into that latter group, you're going to find the government will dictate the next 10, 25, 30 years of your retirement. I don't know about you, I do not and will not be limited by our government's funding regime. I don't think they're responsible, and I certainly don't think they create confidence in their ability to lead our country. So therefore, I don't really feel comfortable handing over my life as well as my family's life and putting it in their hands. So if you're in that category, it's time to make the decision today. So here's a classic for you. In the past 5 years, superannuation funds across Australia, and there's supposedly $1.3 trillion in the superannuation industry here, it has averaged growth of 0.92% per annum. So do the maths. The cost of living is inflating at around about 4.5% per year, and yet your superannuation fund is not even getting 1% of growth. So think of 100 grand in a super fund, you're not even making $1,000 back on that per year in growth. Folks, inflation is stripping away your nest egg or your net worth if it's stored in a super fund. Have a look at some of this. Here's a classic for you. In America today, half of all the United States workers, so half of the workforce in America, has less than $2,000 saved up for retirement. Folks, that's half. That's half the population. The working population in America stands at 168 million people. So half of them have got less than $2,000 saved up for retirement. Sad but true. For all of the states in America, unfunded pension liabilities, that means pension that's unclaimed as yet, equals $3.2 trillion. That's just unclaimed alone. Here's a good one for you. 35% of all Americans over age 65 will rely on Social Security payments alone. So there's nothing else on income. 35% of them just rely on a pension. Folks, this is the end of an era. Our country is going to see a time where you and I in our lives won't have a pension. The government's already tabled legislation that will see that phased out in the next 14 to 16 years. Sad but true. Here's a classic for you. This talks about, for the first time in history, listen to this. This absolutely floored me. For the first time in the world's history, people aged 65 and over will outnumber children under the age of 5. That's this year in 2012. So let's rewind. People aged 65 and over, a demographic in their elderly years, will outnumber children under the age of 5. So folks, as taxpayers, you and I have to make a decision. Are we going to continue living on the breadline? Are we going to continue living, and pushing the limits of our finances every week, panicking, worried, stricken with grief? Are we going to be able to make this? And thinking, how the hell am I going to do this in my retired years? And you're going to work till you're 75, 85 years of age? Who will employ you? How are you going to look after your spouse or your children or yourself for that matter? Have you really put thought and credence to your medical position over the next 20, 30, 40 years? As our government also phases out the amount of medical benefits that are available to you and I in the public system. These are the things that I want to bring home to you. And realise one thing, folks, that you control your destiny. I know, and you know, that real estate now is responsible for 86% of the world's millionaires. This is not coincidental. My suggestion is that you start to make some decisions today. You've got to want this. It's not me telling you what to do. You've got to now own up, face up to it and say, you know what? We need to attack this thing head on. If that's now for you, and I'm sure it is, you want to now think carefully about how you're going to manage your portfolio and create enough cash to sustain a portfolio that will produce income at the end of your working life. So stay tuned. I want you to understand that this is your call to action. That today you're either making a decision to be broke or to be incredibly rich. So either by doing something, you're moving towards that phase of being rich. By sitting back and denying it, by sitting back and ignoring it, by doing the same thing tomorrow as you've done today, really now spells out the meaning of being poor and really being broke in your later years. I want to bring you the truths, folks. I just want to now lay on the table and tell you how it is. These are the stats, this is what they're telling us. But I look forward to now solving that and now engineering a solution to that with you. So stay tuned. This is Mark Rolton signing off. Bye for now.